Greetings all, and welcome to Superb Diamond Range, episode 7, which is going to be about celebration days, holidays, and big business. Today's date is the 16th of December 2013. It's been a little while since we've been online. We've been very busy with many things like updating our audio and a website. I just want to firstly give a big thanks to Freeman Jack of msiradio.com for giving some excellent tips on audio. There'll be a link at the bottom of the channel in regards to his website and where you can reach him. Check out his work. Another guy that I'd like to thank big time is Glyn of kcsdorset.co.uk, who helped a lot with the website side of things and getting everything on the server. So really appreciate everything you've done, Glyn and Freeman Jack. And I'll pass it over to you, Diamond.
Thank you very much, Superb. And great to be back and good to hear from you again. And I'd like to thank also Freeman Jack for your hard work and your tips you have given us. Much appreciated, and we look forward to in the near future corresponding with you also and hopefully doing a show with you. And we've listened to a few of your shows and you're awesome. So good days ahead for all of us. And I'd also like to thank Glyn also for the great work and the for helping us with the website. Awesome. So we cannot thank you enough, really. Totally. And today's show, as Superb was saying, as we're coming up to that festive time of the year, is about celebrations, holidays, which also coincide with big businesses. So, as we know, the most famous one in the world, Christmas coming up soon. Superb, brings back great memories as a child, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, growing up, Christmas was probably one of the most exciting times. I mean, to be honest, for me, it was at the time just all about me and just thinking about presents and, what I was going to get. And, it wasn't really about family or anything. It was more kind of, what's the latest toy I can get. And, I couldn't sleep at night, the night before. My parents would ask me if I would go to the church with them, and I wasn't very enthusiastic about that, and all I could think about was, eating on the day and, just waking up extra early to open up the presents.
You're right, Superb. That sounds right. And you sort of hit something, a nail. You've hit the nail on the head there, where you said Christmas is all about me. Like, the child does become very selfish as well, thinking, what am I going to have? What are you going to give me? And it's not their fault because, they are part of the mind control is to trick them into being selfish as well.
Definitely.
So.
I mean, I had a friend that used to be like a Jehovah's Witness, and I remember him telling me that he wasn't allowed to sort of celebrate Christmas. And, when he was at school, they had like a Christmas party. And he wasn't allowed to go because, his parents were quite strict with him. And everybody sort of felt sorry for him because, he couldn't go to the party and couldn't celebrate Christmas. And, he'd grown up with it. So he was used to not celebrating it. And, everybody sort of felt very guilty and, felt bad that he couldn't join in. But he was just okay with it. It didn't bother him at all.
It is shocking, isn't it, how the program of mind control, how everyone most people can follow the same thing. It is like everyone being plugged into the matrix and doing the same thing on the same day, thinking the same thing, and everyone's happy for that day. So yeah, it is a happy time, and also it's quite a sad time to think that you need to be happy that day, and for the other days, are you happy, or do the other days mean anything?
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure you've heard the saying, Diamond, regarding, every day should be like Christmas, that it shouldn't just be
Yes,
once a year, and that, like giving and receiving, that we should be doing that all year round, really, not waiting for one date of the year. And, the other thing I noticed as well, living over here in Albion, is, quite a lot of the year, you find people that aren't particularly friendly, but all of a sudden, when it's Christmas holiday season, they change. All of a sudden now they're really happy, and you just think, why can't you be like that all year round? Why just one
exactly,
day?
exactly. So, there are a few sort of pointers that you could say. Why do people celebrate this celebration, and why have they ever asked themselves, why switch on for one day? Because that's what they're doing.
That's right.
They're just switching on, be nice, which for most people, sorry to say, will be hard work because they would probably do the same for Valentine's as well. Let me treat my wife or girlfriend good, uh, be romantic, take her to a nice restaurant, and for the rest of the year, back to normal. Well, normal for most people is just being cold, not showing love every day, not telling their partner how much in love they are with them, and going back to Christmas. Christmas should be every day, as you said. You know, the child should be told every day from the parents, the brothers and sisters, I love you. And you cannot, because Christmas now is bribing children as well as mind control.
Definitely. I mean, I remember when I was in the fooling system, I had a friend that, the parents sort of said to him that, if you don't do well in your exams, we're not going to buy you this TV that you want. And he did absolutely terrible in the exam. And what did they go and do? They bought him the TV
They
for
bought
his
it,
room.
I bet they
Yeah.
bought an even better TV than they planned.
Yeah, so it just goes to show that you sort of there's they can use it as you say, as a bribe, and they can put a lot of pressure on people. If you don't do well, and I mean, I think for anybody that's got anything coming up before that time, that it's like they're even more under pressure to do well in whatever they're doing before
Yeah,
that date, so that they can actually enjoy it, which is because really everybody should enjoy every day,
that's
but it's
true.
like you got to enjoy that one day. And I think to myself, the way that the way it's changed so much now. It's I mean, I remember speaking to an uncle of mine coming back from the airport. He gave me a lift, and I asked him about what he thought about Christmas now, and he said that to me, that there's a lot more money in it now. People have a lot more money, and he didn't really get the message at all. He seemed to just be, like you said, selfish earlier, just thinking about who buys the most presents, who sort of like spends the biggest is the winner, kind of thing.
That's true. It's for a lot of families, I would imagine, superb. Christmas would be like a wedding.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, competing with the Joneses next door. Oh, look what we got. Or my tree's bigger than your tree. And you have people putting decorations outside the house too.
That's
So,
right.
you have people competing with their neighbors. Seriously. and, you talk to them as well. They've got about two screws in their head,
You're right.
half a brain.
Yeah,
And
the
like you,
electric bill is something else that some of them must get. And
yeah,
I sort of saw a few one time when I was with my dad, and he sort of said, "Look at that one," and I said, "What about the electric bill?" And then my dad said, "What about it?" So in other
yeah,
words, for Christmas, it doesn't matter, But again, all year round, you
that's
wouldn't,
true.
probably wouldn't behave like that. But it
That's
seems
true.
that it's acceptable. And I mean, I don't know about you, Diamond, but in my family, um, there were some years where we did this thing called, I don't know the actual story behind it, but I'm sure some listeners might have heard of it before.
Parcel,
Chris,
parcel,
yeah,
musical chairs. Sorry, you carry on.
pretty close. No, it
Okay.
was known as Chris Kendall.
Okay.
I imagine it's something to do with Christmas, Chris Kendall. But
Okay.
basically, it meant that you'd pick a name out of a hat out of your whole family group, and you would only buy a present for one person.
That's nice.
which is better than buying it for 7 or 8, I guess. But I've also known other friends that told me things like they put a limit on how much they can spend on each family member. So they might put like £15, £20. You can't spend more than that. And,
Yeah.
instead of kind of being show offy and buying the biggest and best, it's like you're limited. So you've got to use your imagination a bit more with with what you spend. So I thought that can be quite good for most families because, as you say, it's like a wedding every year. If you put so much money into it, and again, it's for one day that will go and come and go again every year.
Yeah, because I have no problem with people celebrating and being kind to each other, but as you said before, there is supposed to be a story behind it, and most people are missing the story, what Christmas is supposed to be. And as we know, Christmas started off, from the dark side. It comes during that time of the winter solstice, where during that time you have the darkest, where it gets dark very, very early. So, during the times, when the Romans were about, that's when they passed this law where every sin was allowed. So you'd have underage drinking, underage sex, even murders were allowed.
Wow.
And so much was going on, and all negative. And so the Catholic Church, thought this isn't good. This celebration's not right. So they tried to change it into a positive. So hence, they brought the story of Christmas, Father Christmas, and the birth of Jesus. And yeah, it all sort of makes sense because they go with the Bible. They talk about the wise men who gave gifts to Jesus. So now you have people going to shops, spending money what they haven't got, and the gifts or buying gifts is supposed to be representing the gifts they gave to Jesus. But if you look in the Bible, you've never heard of Jesus throughout his life celebrating Christmas, have you?
No, not at all.
Or giving gifts to anyone, apart from helping people for free.
Because what you said, Diamond, regarding sort of being able to do whatever you want on that day, it reminds me a bit of that movie, The Purge. It's like one day a year where you can, there's no law and you can pretty much
exactly
do what
the
you want.
same. Exactly
Yeah.
the same. And movies, as we spoke about before, are symbols of what is going on and fantasy. So
Definitely. And what
you
is
can keep
coming.
it. You can keep an eye open. You can either watch a movie and just be taken in, be hypnotized, or you can see the hidden message.
Definitely.
And most people just prefer to be hypnotized and say, "Oh, that was a good movie. Oh, can't wait for part 2."
Because another thing that you sort of raised that I just thought about now is in regards to spending money people haven't got, and obviously there's families that will go into debt over Christmas, and you've probably heard the saying about they had a big Christmas and they waited till January and the credit card bill dropped on the mat, and they didn't want to look at it because they knew it was going to be bad news, like all mail is war. But
Well,
you know,
that's where you're right there, Superb. That's where the big businesses come in. They do not care. They're quite happy to see people go into debt for January time or February when the bailiffs come round. Sorry, we need to take back your presents.
because I know a good friend of mine. Unfortunately, his dog wasn't very well around about December time,
Yes.
and he didn't have any insurance, and he had to go to the vet for to get the dog looked after, and like even if he'd had insurance for the dog, it wouldn't have covered it apparently. But anyway, they asked him if he had it or not, just to sort of see, and they told him the bill, and it was like £300-400, and the lady sort of after she gave the bill, she said, "Sorry, I know it's Christmas. I know it's not a good time to get a bill." And I think he
Yeah.
said to the lady that there's no good time to get a bill.
Well said. Well
Yeah.
said. Well said.
But again, it goes back to that all year round thing that we mentioned, that no one likes to get a bill, no one likes to be charged, but it seems that these holiday times they really exploit the people, with the junk that they sell and things
Well,
that won't last long.
you know, if you were to have a family and to spend time with your family on Christmas Day and spend time with your relatives who you've never seen, but buy no presents, but just an occasion to spend with family and friends and buy no presents. Would the children prefer that, or do you think they would be selfish and go for, I just spend time with my own family, but I have all the presents and I do not care to see family, cousins who I've never seen in years?
Exactly.
Yep, they would prefer to have their presents because that's the way they're taught. And the schooling system or the fooling system is bred, geared to make us selfish people, all about me. Instead
Definitely.
of instead of building up the community, I would rather see a celebration like a carnival kind of atmosphere where everyone gets involved. People bring food in and share. But if people, if that was to go on, the so-called elites might think these people are actually working together. So one day they might come together and realize they do not need us.
Because something you brought up, Diamond, that I thought was quite interesting was, you talked about sort of the community getting together over like the holiday season, and I remember when the witch had the jubilee,
Yes.
and there was like people having these sort of street parties where they were putting the butcher's apron flags
Yep.
all down the street sort of thing, and basically they were all getting together to celebrate the biggest evil
That
out there, kind
that
of
is
thing.
amazing. That is a great point, Superb, because when it comes to the witch, they put the witch above any sort of so-called religious festival.
Definitely.
And, they had street parties. I remember street party in the Golden Jubilee
That's
or
right.
Silver Jubilee as well in the 70s. And and they got the attention of everyone. So they practically made sure that every street in the UK had a party, which how, talk about mind control and, hypnotizing people.
As well as that, I remember they had something going on in central London, some kind of big plane, red arrows or something like that. And that particular day, it was raining really heavy and it was cloudy. It was basically, it wouldn't have been a clear blue sky because the planes would be flying over, letting out chemtrails. So it was the right weather for that day for the Queen to be out, basically.
Yes,
But we've talked about that with the Olympics, the way that they manipulated the weather for that
it was.
time, and it definitely
Yeah,
does go on. It's
yeah. The Olympics was something what we both, because when you sort of get onto what their game is, it is easy to see their moves, and both of us sort of agreed that during the Olympics, the weather would have been at the hottest at its peak during the 3 weeks the Olympic Games were in London, and you can check it out. During those weeks, the weather was at its hottest.
definitely. Another one that I wanted to bring up, Diamond, was Easter, which is again another big business time, and especially for obviously chocolate companies. A lot of people buying the Easter egg, which is again what they've taken the focus off family time again, and they've
That's
so
right.
all the children think about now is how many Easter eggs am I going to get, how big the Easter egg is, and how many can I eat in one day, basically.
Yeah, well, now when you sort of bring in the businesses, the businesses represent the pagan ways.
You're right.
And, the pagan ways sort of are towards government and sort of halfway in between, sitting on the fence, as we would say, which, celebrating Easter, forgetting the resurrection, as they call it, and focusing on presents for children, Easter Bunny, and Easter really was supposed to be the most sort of special celebration for the Christians and Catholics, if I would remember the time of the resurrection when Jesus was supposed to have conquered death, risen from the grave after 3 days. So, but the average people who would celebrate Easter wouldn't really talk about that or know about that.
Because it's a good point you're making that, you get a lot of people that, wouldn't be into religion particularly, but would celebrate these kind of pagan, Gentile style festivals.
Yeah, of course.
Just because of everyone else doing it, I've even known families that had religions that have nothing to do with Christmas, will celebrate it just to kind of, I guess they think that they're trying to fit in with the, Christian society but to me it's like, yeah, maybe people say it's a good thing, but, ultimately when you know what's behind it, I think, there's a lot of symbolism as well.
Of course there is. Of course. I think we both know, hand on hearts, that Christmas and Easter, well, all of them really are all pagan festivals, and
Definitely.
They represent nothing good.
I mean, you've got the tree, it's like a pyramid.
That's right.
The star at the top, or the angel.
I mean, you would bring, who in their right mind would bring a tree in their house? You might bring a plant inside your house.
Exactly.
But, would you bring a tree from outside and put it in your house and put decorations on it?
Yeah, it's a good point you're making, Diamond. Like the amount of trees that get cut down for this day, and they should be sort of in their surface, in their soil, and they're getting taken away from their families. The other trees.
So the poor trees are butchered for nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Are sacrificed, as they like to call it, the Catholics. So,
and I mean, obviously, another one that needs to be brought up as well is the old supermarkets that, obviously Christmas time is a time when they make a lot of money, selling a lot of different types of food, and they strategically place things in certain areas of the supermarket that,
of course,
trick you into buying it, and they make an absolute fortune on charging people for something that should be free, but they've kind of stepped in as the middleman, and it's people will actually again spend more on food than any other time during the year, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
And, if anything, they overeat, on that day.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
And they get drunk. They get drunk. They do all kind of stuff what doesn't really represent the birth of Jesus. But if you check out this, Superb, have you ever gone to a christening?
Yes. Yeah, I've been.
And you'll see the celebration is pretty similar to a Christmas celebration. Okay, so you go to a christening and, it's supposed to be a celebration of the baby. But why do later on the adults get blind drunk? Is that a sign for the baby to follow years to come?
And I mean, another one, now that you brought that up, there's, in regards to, like things in those, maybe like funerals, for example, that you've got that rule that everyone must wear, black. And, if you turn up with orange or bright yellow, you're kind of seen as the trouble or something, like you're breaking the tradition. And to me, again, that there's something to that. There's a dark side to that. That's why everyone's dark, basically. Clothing.
That's true.
And again, you should be allowed to dress how you like.
I mean, personally,
the main thing is you've attended. You've shown your respects. The main thing is not about how you dress. And
because I would personally, my personal views, I think people should wear what they like, and even light colours as well, because someone who's had a good life, they're going back into the light.
Definitely.
So for the people to be reflecting darkness, I think have been sold another lie. So
definitely.
I personally, wouldn't wear black, and I do not wear ties anymore.
Me either. No way.
For saying that, Superb, I do not get invited. So.
And I mean, we're pretty against the being buried as well, and being put in a grave with a gravestone with all capital letters, more or less saying that
that's right.
You've always been dead, kind of thing.
Exactly. That's the gravestone and then you read your bills and your gravestone written the same.
Yep, exactly.
Always been what
Definitely.
the so-called elite see us, the Walking Dead zombies.
Yeah, even on the birth certificate, it's like the section for it is births and deaths, section. So you just think,
Yes,
straight away they're telling you kind of thing. But as
that's
we know,
true.
we're very alive. We're much more alive than they think.
Well, first and foremost, we are living souls in a body. We're not, let's see ourselves as living souls inside of a body, not a body carrying a soul, or as they want us to believe, a body carrying nothing, because that is a dead body,
That's right. Yeah.
a dead entity.
And I mean, to operate in this society, obviously you need a piece of paper, to get everything that you need, and
Mm,
you need a photo where they behead you, and you need this thing called ID, which is, you know, again something that they charge you for the privilege of having, or so-called privilege.
that's
It's
right.
just to get
That's right.
anything now, you need it, and try getting operating in the system without it now. It's much tougher than what it is. But the good thing is more and more people are not doing it. So more of us sort of make the stand.
That's
Eventually,
true.
we can do away with that.
That's true. That's good. So overall, your take on Christmas could be a good could be a good day, but it seems like as we know, we can see and feel the pressure of the people around us because people do talk to us and say, "Oh well, I can't stand Christmas. I've got to spend all this money," as if someone's you know holding them at gunpoint to spend money because no one's really forcing anyone to do anything. But
I mean that's another good point you raised, Diamond, where you've got the pressure of delivering the presents, and there are families that might not have the money to even give their child like the one present, and obviously if they don't give a present to the child, that day is ruined, and
yes,
so there's so much pressure on them to borrow money and get into debt, and just to save face, it's like it's just unbelievable. And
yeah,
I mean, many people they might save for it, all year round, which I suppose is maybe a good idea, but rather than sort of paying for everything all in one. But at the same time, you shouldn't be ashamed if you haven't got the money, because you can do it another day of the year, because as far as we're concerned, all year round should be that day, really and truly.
exactly, exactly. Because going back to presents and buying presents, these so-called three wise men that bought presents to the young Jesus, did they go to a shop and buy all this, or were they
Exactly.
were they free gifts?
That's right.
Because it
Yeah.
would, if you really check it out, gifts should be from the heart, and it should be something. It would be nice if you can give something without spending anything,
Like, for example,
because
making something out of something,
yeah,
or maybe drawing a picture, or
because we should. How about a day where how about this, superb? A day where no one spends money but spends time with family,
that would be awesome.
and call that Christmas. That's
Yeah,
what Christmas should really be, because money represents the system.
definitely.
Doesn't come from anything holy or divine.
I mean, obviously, another thing that
It's
we need to bring up is about the churches. About everybody goes to the temples in during Christmas time, and obviously they make a lot of money from it as well, because they put the old basket out. And I remember in my time when I used to go to the church when I was young, they used to put the basket around 3 or 4 times, and
of course,
they're all connected to social insurance, national insurance, because on the envelopes they give you to donate, they've got the like gift aid section. So if you're a taxpayer, you can just put your details in, and they'll claim it back. So
yes,
somebody once said, I think it was Winston Trout, he said that this story about a guy that went to this church with some vegetables. He was offering vegetables to the priest, and the priest said to him, oh, that's no good. I don't want the vegetables. Why don't you sell them and give me the money? And I think Winston Strout said that that's a sign that it's not a church of substance. It's a tax church kind of thing.
Churches are businesses.
Big time.
They're businesses, but they hide under the name of religion, and they try to hijack the story of the Bibles and all the great teachings. But really, churches have no business talking about the Bible.
Definitely.
Or try to because what they've done, they've misled people down the garden path. Trying to say people, saying to people they need to buy their way into heaven.
That's right.
And the other one is they can just worship Jesus instead of being like him, trying to attain that Christ consciousness, which everyone can get. The life he led would have been the perfect life, and his life is against the system. And most people who go to church wouldn't want to live like Jesus. They're pagans, to be honest.
I mean, not many people know this, but there's no mention of Jesus ever using or handling money in the Bible, and I mean that just proves that we could live without it and live a very, very good life.
That's his life, and many other great men who walked the earth. Their life was to show how we should be living and to attain that Christ consciousness as well.
Definitely.
Which to show love to fellow man, and that way you help each other, and to own nothing as well, because we're taught everything is me, me, me. This is mine. This is mine. And when you start thinking like that, you find you become selfish and you're not sharing things.
Definitely. And I mean, there was even stories where Jesus was going around healing people, and he wasn't asking for anything in return. He was just doing it out of the kindness of his heart. To help people. But now it's like everybody just wants to do things for pay. It's like that's another thing, like where you never see a shop giving away presents. They're always selling them.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. Really, they should give. Actually, have an interesting story regarding that. There was an airline. I'm not sure. I think it was in Canada, but I heard that they actually asked their passengers before they took off, what would they like for Christmas? They gave them a list, a piece of paper, so they all wrote down what they wanted. Some people said they wanted TV, some people said they want computers, laptops. And actually, when they got to the other end of the trip, when they landed on the other airport, everything that they asked for, the airline paid for.
Wow.
Unfortunately, I don't remember the name of the airline, but I should really try and mention it next time.
Whoa, that's amazing.
But yeah, I heard about that story, and I thought it was excellent for the airline to do that. I thought, literally all the presents were fulfilled. Everything that they asked for, they got for them, and that was within a long haul flight. They managed to arrange all that, and literally they landed, and they were waiting for them to give them the gifts.
That's amazing.
Yeah, unfortunately, I regret not knowing the airline, but whoever they are, we respect them big time for doing that.
Well, it's probably a nice fictitious story, but
but it's just better than what they would normally do. It's like a different.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, these airlines make so much.
Definitely.
How much does it cost for a transatlantic flight, where most of that money is tax?
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really, really shocking.
So for sure, these people have a good salary, and to pay all that for passengers, easy.
Definitely. I mean, another thing that we didn't really mention as well is that there's people at Christmas time that they might be living in another part of the world, and they might, might not just be a case of being able to afford presents, but it might also be a case of not being able to afford a flight home to be with their family. So they might even be spending, that day alone. And, again, it should be every day, so again, it's not just about that day. But, if they are into it, that, it's a shame that they're not in a position to, because obviously you get time off work during that period as well. It's like a rest time. So it's good to be with family and friends.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. That's one thing I agree with. I agree with any time you have to spend with loved ones, take it.
Definitely.
And try to swallow your pride if it happens to be in Christmas, but you know, because I will be probably spending time with my brothers and his family, looking forward to seeing their children. But
Brilliant.
can I share this story with you, Superb,
Sure, go ahead.
and the listeners? At school, we were taught that always be kind to old people and make sure the elderly are okay at Christmas. Invite them round for dinner and all this. And it's come to the stage of my life now where my neighbours see me as the old man. And I got home from work and there was a note on my door saying, "Can you call at number 37?" So I did. And they said, "Oh, Diamond, what are you doing on Christmas Day? We would like to invite you around for Christmas dinner."
Wow.
And I thought, damn, I've become that old man now. Lives by himself, who they feel sorry for. But yeah, I said it was a nice gesture. Yeah, but I turned them down. But it was nice though. But it's the idea as well that they think that people are into Christmas.
Definitely. Yeah.
Most people see it for what it really is. It's just a day. There's nothing magical happens on that day. There's no fat man coming through a chimney or a bobsleigh in the sky.
I mean, obviously, elderly people, I can understand if they are into the celebration of it. It is not nice to be on their own, and it is excellent that they offered you. And I mean, I think I would do the same. If I with a neighbour or something.
Yeah. But then, I would appreciate it more if they would invite me, just say, on December the 28th or
Sure.
June the 15th or any other day. But
Definitely.
for that one day, it's a bit too, it sounds a bit false to me.
Definitely, yeah.
It's okay, look at me, I'm doing something good. Do something good every day.
Every day, I totally agree. I mean, another one that Diamond that I want to raise is, it's Valentine's Day, which, as if you in a relationship, whether you be married or girlfriend, boyfriend or whatever, they, there's a lot of pressure on that day of, again, spending time with them and obviously buying them a gift, whether it be jewelry, chocolate.
Well, we live in a world where most of the people are materialistic.
Definitely.
So all they see is, they can't see, they can't see with their real eyes.
Definitely.
The real eyes being the open eye, but they can just see past their nose and just see the shops, Valentine's, spend, and restaurant, food, eat me, and and they go there, spend time with their loved one, and they fall in love again, and the next day or next few days after that, it goes back to normal, and it's all forgotten.
Definitely.
They treat each other, they talk to each other as if they do not exist. So the human race, sorry to say, depends on these pagan days to be lifted.
Definitely.
That's what
Yeah,
they're
it's
getting
like
lifted.
you have to be reminded to remember people when you should be remembering them every day. I mean,
Exactly.
even a phone call like once a day or a few times a week to like loved ones is
Exactly.
good. Some people can't even manage that to keep in
That's
contact.
That's romantic.
Yeah.
You're showing love and to your friends, you're keeping in touch.
I mean, I would say that a hug is much better, or even a phone call, than than a card or a piece of jewelry, chocolate, any of that. Just things like that can make such a difference to the way you feel.
That's right.
And I mean, that's what I think a lot of people forget. And it's like they're saying, well, okay, we're going to remind you to, that you have to do this on this day, but at the same time, you have to pay us, so you're going to make big money from it. And
exactly what they're really saying, the message is you cannot enjoy yourself unless you spend.
Yeah.
and the Gentiles just walk straight into it, not knowing any better.
I mean, another one that I'd love to mention, and I actually heard they're starting to introduce it in Albion now as well, but it's been going on for a long time in America. Is the Black Friday, where it's like kind of like Boxing Day here, I guess, but again they're trying to introduce it over here now, and
Yes.
people will literally kill each other for a toaster or for the latest iPad or um, again, things that most people can't really afford, but just to look good and just to be the first in the queue to get it. It's like and it's like within a year it breaks, and it's in some landfill,
Yeah, it's
someplace.
you are right there, Superb. I've seen over the years this day, and like you said, in the UK, it would be, was it New Year's Day or Boxing Day, the sales,
That's right,
where everything is more than half price, and so you have people sleeping outside the shop even,
definitely.
and they would never even dream about sleeping outside any time. Seriously, if
That's
they were
right.
kicked, if they were kicked outside, if they were kicked out of home, they would find, they would go to their friend's house. But these people are sleeping outside the shop to make sure when a door opens, they're first in.
I
You
mean,
know?
something that got me thinking as well is I haven't really calculated how many days a year there are of these type of holidays, and I guess there's even more when you count all the different religions that are out there that have their days. But
That's
if you
true.
think about it, any time they want, they can just introduce a new day that you've got to spend money on, and to the
Yes.
point where possibly even 365 days a year you've got to celebrate. And I mean, I'm not talking about celebrating something positive, but just celebrate that day. And to
Yeah.
me, it's like really, we should just get back to not worrying about what the date is on the calendar, concentrating on the numbers, the digits, and just
Well,
get back to living.
that's a great point, Superb, because people live by the clock and they live by the calendar. They do not live for the now, which if we live for the now, that is the real gift because now is called the present.
That's right.
Get it? Present. That is the real present, which is now, which most people are most stressed. People are most stressed when they're thinking about the future. People are more relaxed and are happier when they're actually living for today.
Definitely.
But people do not want to learn. They want to spend money and listen, be told when to be happy.
Because you mentioned, Diamond, about sort of in the early days leading up to all these celebrations, like I guess again in particular Christmas. Obviously the parents keep a lie going where they tell the children about this fictional character called Santa Claus, who most people say would represent Satan, or at
That's
least
right.
the name might come
Yeah,
from there, and he's wearing red, and
that's true.
and the way that he does magical things like flies on a on a sleigh with reindeers, and comes through the chimney, and eats the mince pies, and apparently he's supposed to be your father that really does it, or your parents that give the gift. But it's sad that instead of telling the truth from day one, the parents lie to the children.
They go through the child's childhood with that story that even in schools too, because I'm sure when you were at school, Superb, you were told that same lie that
Definitely.
Father Christmas was real,
That's right.
and I believed it. So because we trust our elders to tell us the truth and to guide us, excuse me, and to guide us properly, and so we've gone through life being lied to and sold lies, and later on in life, as we become adults, people lie to us, and we just accept it like government lied to us,
That's right.
and all the time, and people still go out in their millions and vote, even though they do know that they're lying, because you can tell they're lying because their lips are moving.
Yeah, that is so true. I mean, again, that's like another kind of celebration where they choose behind the scenes who it's going to be, but they they trick the people into believing that their vote counts.
Yeah,
And people celebrate, say, Obama getting in, and first term, second term, things aren't really improving; they're just getting worse. And I would say that you look at that, the country of America, the Republic of America, not the USA corporation, but that
yes,
country was thriving before banks and insurance and all that came in. It just ripped the country apart, and now it's at its worst. But like the whole world, I guess they're all becoming, debtor nations. But as we know, all the debt is just made up. It's just,
of course it is.
none of it's real.
Of course it
it's
is.
just again, it's another lie.
Of course it is.
Being born and being expected to pay the national debt down, which is, impossible to do, mathematically impossible.
Yeah,
It's, and I mean, every time people spend money, we go deeper into debt anyway, because we're
that's
already
true.
in debt. So,
So I know today's show isn't really about the national debt, but just a quick note about that is when our parents and when we do make birth certificates, we're taking on that debt as well
definitely.
because we're registering our bodies to the government as employees,
The corporation.
the corporation. So the birth certificate isn't what people think it is. For people to know that you're alive, because we can actually do that ourselves.
Definitely. All you need is 2 or 3 witnesses.
That's right. That's right. And do
maybe
it
a doctor,
yourself.
if you use a doctor, or
That's right.
to give you a little letter and say that you were born and not birthed like a ship.
That's right. All symbols and the wording, and we've been tricked. So that is part of the reason why that national debt is on our shoulders too.
Definitely.
If nobody had a birth certificate, then this debt, this national debt, would have nothing to do with us.
Definitely.
But people seem to be, I'm pretty sure who you've spoken to, Superb, have said, "Oh, this country owes so much, and we're in debt." They say, "We're in debt."
I mean, another thing on the same subject as well is, people think like, real estate or house prices going up is a good thing. But what they don't realize is that, the people's children and their children are going to have to get even deeper into debt because, having the money to pay for a house in cash now it's not easy unless you hit the jackpot, really.
Exactly.
So ultimately, they'll have to borrow more money from the bank to buy a house. So, people think they're in bad debt now. They're going to be even worse debt. So anybody that tells you that house prices going up is a good thing, is talking rubbish. It's, even for them, it's like they try and sell their house. They can only buy a house that's comparable to what they sold their house for, and again, it depends on area and all that, but all of a sudden a bad area could become a good area, so they could just whack the prices up there as well, so you can't even live in an area that was considered bad before.
That's right.
So it's a complete scam, the whole thing.
Of course.
And I mean, these guys that come around people's houses doing surveys and appraisals, I think they call it in the States, where they tell you how much they believe it's worth. It's just complete fiction. Again, everything should be free in regards to food, shelter, clothing, energy. That is without a doubt, that is a right.
For sure. But really, that the planet doesn't belong to our creator. That it belongs to a group of people, and most people on this planet are proud of that. So it as we know, most people are plugged into the matrix, and it is a tough one to unplug.
Definitely.
Because Christmas and all these celebrations, all part of the matrix days.
Definitely.
So for you, Superb, Christmas, a good thing, but without spending money, or a good thing as it is now?
I mean, I just think that they should just people should just celebrate every day of the year and not concentrate on one day. And maybe it's a good thing that we get time off work, and it is an opportunity to be with your family. But again, we should try and make the effort all year round,
Of
and
course.
it shouldn't be about gifts and presents. I think that should be taken away.
Well, that's the bribe. That's the bribe of the whole thing. And if a gift makes someone happy, that's okay. But a gift should be as a gift when you want to give it. That's why it's a gift.
Definitely.
And you shouldn't be forced to, feel like you've got to give someone a gift at a certain time of the year. And so, like you said, every day should be a special day. But we are tricked, or those that are proud to be plugged in the matrix are tricked that they can only be happy a few days of the year, and the rest of the days they got to be selfish again and cut throats. And
I mean, another thing, Diamond, that I want to just point out is, people that want to be free from this system. If you keep going out and buying these really expensive luxury goods that you don't need, really and truly you're supporting the system, because, you pay a lot of tax on that.
yeah,
And to me, it's like, buy what you need, like adequate. You don't need to all the time buy the biggest and best, most expensive. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't buy good quality things, because you don't want to buy something that's going to break a week later, but be, vote with your dollar, as they say. Be careful how don't buy things you really don't need. That,
well said.
again, it's just going to support their system, because the whole point is we want to bring the system down, not keep it
Well,
alive.
well said.
So I think a
Well
lot of
said.
people need to think of that. And I mean, I know many people that are into brands, and they cost a lot of money, and at the end of the day, you do really need to buy that brand. Can you find the equivalent of that quality in something that is much less? That, rather than supporting those groups, to me it's
Yep.
like you've got to be selective, because at the end of the
Well,
day, there's a lot of things people buy they don't need, and they, always ask yourself the question: is it a want, or is it a need? Is it essential? If you can't answer those kind of questions, then I wouldn't go ahead with the purchase.
yeah, but like you say, Superb, most people do not ask themselves these questions. They're
Definitely.
looking at they look at the Joneses or other people, then they just buy it.
I remember listening one time that you could end up becoming the only family on the street without a Blu-ray player.
True,
That would be
true.
devastating, wouldn't it?
Certainly would be. It certainly would be.
Anyway, Diamond, I think we'll wrap things up now, because I'm pretty good. We done very well on that topic. I think, obviously, I hope people notice a big difference in the audio quality in the show. We've got a lot of things that we've adjusted and changed, and I think we've been off for about two weeks, almost 3 weeks, but it's been very busy. We've done a lot of things.
Well, thanks again for your great advice, Freeman Jack.
Definitely.
I've noticed the quality, and Superb, thank you again for your efforts. What you've done also, you've done amazing last 2 weeks behind the scenes.
Thanks, Diamond. Same to you as well.
So,
Thanks
we
very
couldn't have done this without you, keeping this show going and running and alive.
Brilliant.
And
okay, I'm just going to give our listeners some contact details for us. Again, we're always looking for feedback and suggest topics and things like that. So if you want to email us, you can email us at superbdiamondrange@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter is superbdiamondra or superbdiamondra. We've now got a website. The website is superbdiamondrangepodcast.com, and our iTunes has changed as well, but I'll leave a link in the bottom, because obviously we've moved all our podcasts over to a server now, so it's going to be a little bit different. But yeah, we're very excited for the future of the podcast, and we hope our listeners are enjoying it. And again, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you too. And we've enjoyed this show and looking forward to next week. Not sure what our topic will be, but I'm looking forward to maybe marriages.
Definitely.
Because, Christmas, another happy time. It's still a happy time and we're coming into the new year. So I'm sure a lot of people will be going to parties and meeting people. So
proposing.
Yep,
and things
proposing. And so, yep, I'm looking forward to next week's show. And in the near future, we'll be having guests on our show. So that should be good.
Definitely.
Some great names we've got lined up for the future.
Excellent.
So thanks again for listening.
Yep, thanks again. And have a great week ahead, everybody.
So stay blessed and peace be with you all.
Yep, peace be with you. Thank you.